Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Welcome to Anhar. This episode will also keep you hopefully enthralled on a very important topic: successful motherhood and responsible fatherhood as career options. We have a lot of career opportunities, and career advancement is marked or is emblematic of high achievement, and career advancement is obviously coveted by any career person, career woman or man. So along these lines, we will break this down, this important topic as to what motherhood is, what is fatherhood. And we have Endeavour's founder, Dr. Abstar Yusuf, and Dr. Ibrahim Zakaria Musa. Thank you very much for coming over. Welcome. So, let me pose this question first. How do we define motherhood and fatherhood? Can you unpack it?
Well, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Wassalatu Wassalamu ala Ashrafil Anbiya wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain. Yes, we have all been fathers, and we have spouses who are mothers, and so we know in ourselves what they are. But the main point, I think, is to know that who is a woman and who is a mother, who is a man and who is a father. Because these two things invoke a different feeling. One, you are just gender, a person of gender, man and woman. Once you say mother, it brings in a child. And a father, it brings in the idea of a child. So with that, our hats change from just being a man to a father, or a woman to a mother. And I think that is the difference we have to realize, because inevitably a woman becomes a mother once you have a child. So what is the responsibility of that mother? What is the responsibility of the father? And that is put into a noun as motherhood and fatherhood. So I think its importance that we discuss today, I believe, is because as always, it's an important aspect of life of the human being. But in today's world, things have changed. Things have changed drastically because we have a lot of change coming in. This is the century of change. I think in the last 20th century, more has changed than probably all the centuries before. Our great-great-parents lived the whole life with hardly any change. Our parents lived also, certainly my parents, lived with hardly much of a change. Towards the end of their years, there were changes coming in. But our lives have changed completely, right? Now, from our island life to this kind of 21st century life, we have just come in about 50 years. And we have come from a colonized nation into an independent nation just 60 years ago. So there is a lot about development also, a nation's progress also related to what mothers and fathers can do. Because ultimately mothers and fathers bring up the next generation. So motherhood is so important and fatherhood is as important. But motherhood takes a bigger precedence in my view, because they're the ones who nurture the children. Because they spend more time with the children. They have spent gestational time of 9 months with the baby in their womb. So all that is time where they bind, they bond, and they feel the sense of child being mine. For most people, well, there are of course exceptions. And so that becomes the beginning of how those children will live, if you can bind them to you. So during the womb, outside the womb, that's what we must discuss probably to realize what motherhood and fatherhood is, and how that can change the lives or break the life of a child.
So motherhood and fatherhood are so unique that it is impossible to replace them. And there is nobody who can feel for a mother exactly as a mother, as the mother for that particular case. And so is the case with the fatherhood. And whereas other professions are concerned, other worldly jobs at workplaces are concerned, one can be replaced by the other, maybe sometimes for the better. Why is it so unique? And sometimes it is said the best thing a father can do to the children is not to have a big house or to send them to a good school or to give them the best of food and education, but the best thing a father can do to the children is to enable presence of mother. How do you expand on this situation?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalam ala nabiyya ba'dah. Thank you very much once again for inviting me to this program. Indeed, we are talking on a very important topic of each and every household, a topic related to each and every one of us. I wouldn't be here talking to you, presenting this participate in this program, if by the grace, by the blessing of Almighty Allah, my mother and my father wouldn't have nurtured and brought up, educated me, and given me the space to live in this life. So from here we can understand how important the topic, the fatherhood and motherhood is. In the world that we are living in, we establish two types of relationships. One type of relationship we establish according to our own choice. For example, you as a businessman, a business partner that you brought into your business is by your own choice. Even your wife is your own choice. Husband and wife's relationship is a choice, your own choice. But when the other type of relationship is very sacred between our son and father, daughter and mother, fatherhood, the status of fatherhood and the status of motherhood is so unique. As unique as there is no comparison to this status at all. Because to be a mother is not by your choice. To be a father is not by your choice. Meaning, I am not a son of my father by my own choice. My sisters are not the children of my father with their choice. Without their choice, this is a chosen by Allah Almighty. This relationship, not the relationship that we are talking according to our own choices. We may have our friends according to our choice. We may have our business partners according to our choice. But father and son, daughter and mothers and fathers, this relationship is being set by Allah Almighty. That is why, in chapter 2, verse number 26, I guess, 27, it says, those who are breaking up this relationship, blood relationship, the relationship of ulul arham, what we call in our Islamic terminology, the relationship of ulul arham, those who are tied up with the relations of through our fathers and mothers, those who are walking away of their fathers and their mothers, cutting off this whole relationship, are fasiqun. What do you mean by fasiq? In Arabic, fasiq means someone who is corrupted outwardly and inwardly. Fasiq means a person who is corrupted, a corrupt person, inwardly and outwardly. You know, an apple, when it is rotten, sometimes you may not be able to check whether it is rotten unless you cut it and see the inside. But when it becomes out, rotten from inside and outside,
Right.
then you can understand it, you can see it from its color and everything. Likewise, when you call a fasiq, means a person who is corrupted from inside and outside. So those who are breaking up these sacred relationship are being labeled or called by the language of Quran. Quran says that they are fasiqun. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ أَهْدَ اللَّهِ, those who are breaking up the covenants and the agreements that they have come up with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ, and they are cutting off those relationships that Allah has already ordered to maintain it. وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, and they are spreading corruption on the earth. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, they are the people who are utterly failures. Now this ayah specifically indicating to those who are not honoring that agreement, that covenant that they have come into, the agreement of bonding together. Now one may say that I pray 5 times, I obey Almighty Allah, and I never commit any sinful thing. Nevertheless, I hate my father, I hate my mother, I can't get along with my siblings, although I pray 5 times. Now, there are people who, boastfully, I would say that I pray 5 times, I never commit any sin, but I don't like my father, I don't like my mother, and I can't get along with my siblings, right? So what does it mean?
And at the same time feeling righteous?
Feeling righteous. So it means, do you think is there any agreement where you agree on certain clauses in that agreement, whereas you don't abide by other clauses? How would be that agreement? Now, for example, you have a driving license, and you abide all the rules except you speed up and you drive recklessly, although you stop all the red lights, although you follow certain rules, but you drive recklessly. So do you think that your license will policeman or the traffic police will allow you that just because you have a license? So likewise, Islam is perceiving with its totality. The most important bond that we need to give the highest importance is to maintain that relationship, the blood relationship, and to honor that relationship which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established. You may disagree with your friend, you may have new friends, leaving your old friends, right? You may have new business partners, leaving your old partners left. But can you ever say that from now on he's not my he's not my father? Can you say that he's not my brother? The brother is brother once and for all. Mother is mother once and for all, right? So therefore, Islam emphasizes on this particular area so much so that all other relationships, all other success are depending on the success of maintaining your family. When you have justice, you are maintaining justice in your family. When you are balancing your family in a way that will lead to the tranquility and the peace of the whole your life, it means you are a very successful person. There are, surprisingly, there are some people who are very worried about having injustice in and around the world, and talking a lot about bringing justice to the world, whereas his family is ruined, his family is broken, and he is not doing justice to his family.
And he is culpable for a bunch of the problems.
So therefore, doing so, once you failed in maintaining that family relationship, you are a failure in your life. Although you may feel yourself that I am a very successful person, but believe me, someday, point of time, you are going to, end up nowhere. So, if you cannot maintain that relationships, what will be the outcome? It will emerge a dysfunctional family. Dysfunctional family. When this functional family emerges, there are different type of dysfunctional families. One is because a family may dysfunction come to a status of dysfunctional status due to drug addicts. Family may come to of dysfunction due to abundance, giving not much importance as a father and as a mother. Now, in good old time, perhaps our grandfathers, grandmothers would not have achieved, and even never dreamt of what the modern mothers and fathers have achieved. And in terms of their luxury life, in terms of their high prestigious job titles. But the question is, are we in a very peaceful situation as our grandfathers, grandmothers lived? So we have to look into the outcomes, to the end result of our life.
The consequences.
The consequences.
It doesn't go without consequence.
Exactly.
When you are not responsible for your motherhood or fatherhood. As for the success interpretation or perception of success, very often we perceive career advancement of a woman as the as emblematic of success. Let us say in the field of her education or specialty, she is counted as she is counted in the top echelons of the institution she is working at, or she's highly placed in one office or the other, or in a company for that matter. So this interpretation of success is one aspect of success for her, and on the other hand, there is success of her to be interpreted as being a mother, full-time mother, instead of being a part-time mother, full-time mother. So what we see is, when being a full-time mother, as you said, in good old generations, when mothers, I mean, there is no harm in being a working mother, being a working mother, when it necessitates for her to work for the betterment of the family or betterment of the society, so that she may render her services in the required line of her speciality. But the issue here is, she is sacrificing the family for career, and she is giving precedence to the career instead of the family, instead of the children. And the issue is our society ready to discount a mother who is able to produce, let us say, engineers, doctors, pilots, captains, and whatnot, all fields of professionals, being a mother. So we have such families back in the earlier days, and even today. What Dr. Absattar has been proponent of.
I've been a father, certainly.
You have been a father.
I'm a grandfather now.
MashaAllah, that's an achievement. So you have been a proponent of family life, and having, even if one works, there should be work balance, work and family balance. One has to strike the balance between time given for work and given to the family. So what is your take, or can you give us your perspective on how to strike a balance and not sacrifice the family for the sake of the career?
I would say that the choice has to be made by the parents. Now, we as people who have had the experience of life, and we have read about these things, we can say, and I think from experience, what we have from experience is the wisdom that we can give to the public or the children or the parents who are listening to us. And as Ibrahim said, this in our religion is such a sacred union among a man and a woman, and the children that they get, and the whole of the family unit, which is the cogs of the chain of society. That being the case, every mother, every father must think of the objective of life. Now, when we do, there is a purpose. This universe was created also for a purpose, although many of us don't even think about it. We were brought into this world for a purpose, and we will die for a purpose also. So why is the child given to us and not to another person? The child that we have, me and my wife have, were given to me for me to take care of. And the same for you, and same for Dr. Zakaria also. So do I feel a sense of responsibility for that? Because if you have a role to play, then you have to have a sense of responsibility. You were given for a purpose, that purpose has to be fulfilled. Now, in order to fulfill that purpose, what am I supposed to do? Now, we are mature individuals. We have had children, meaning even a mother and father who has, two people who have become parents, they now have to take the responsibility. And are they thinking about this responsibility? What entails? What are the factors? What are the elements of that responsibility? How do you, okay, essentially you might say, I want to make this child a very well-respected human being. I want to make him a very educated human being. I want to make him an engineer or a scientist or whatever, or you may call whatever. Now, in order to do those things, you have to send them to school. Now, it's our responsibility to see that the school is having the programs that will really make that child go that way, right? Is it a school that only gives you education on passing exams? This is very important. Okay, but they may do that. But as we discussed some time ago also, there's intelligence. There are so many types of intelligence. You have cognitive intelligence, which is about IQ and ability to learn and discuss and that kind of intelligence. You have social intelligence. You have spiritual intelligence. You have emotional intelligence. All these things together make up a human being. What are we given priority to? So if we give priority to only cognitive intelligence, then that child is losing a lot. A child becomes, as you say, a holistic human being only when you give all these things together. And they are given in different ways. A school can give all these things also. But most of the schools only give this education of cognitive.
So mother is able to enable all these dimensions of intelligence?
No, I'm talking about motherhood and fatherhood is the idea of responsibility of these two people, right? Father's responsibility is to, let's say, if you want to go into the Quranic ideals of you must provide for the wife. You must look after the household in the sense of providing the money and that kind of amenities that the wife needs in order to look after the house. And the child, to be able to look after the child, you need to find the food and the kind of exercise that the child needs and the good environment where good behavior and good moral standards can be maintained. Now those we have to do. And in order that the child will grow up to be that total balanced human being, you must have these things available. Does the mother know these things? I don't know whether women and men get mature after they marry, but they can get mature even before they marry. I'm talking about maturity of the mind, right? You can get physically mature, but beyond that you have to have a mature mind in order to really bring up a good child. And that means you have to make effort to see what those maturity means. It's about knowing about life, knowing about society, knowing about what is right and wrong, knowing about your spiritual allegiances and all that. Once you know that, you are able to guide that child. It's guidance. Of course, what the child will be, ultimately, it will be his own choice. But you got to provide the guidance in the right way. And if you can do that, you will have a good child. And I think from what you say, as a career option, we started this with a caption of motherhood and fatherhood as a career option. I think it's not really a career in the sense of what we do as an educator or an engineer or a doctor.
It's not a paid job.
These are professionals, right? Professional areas where you're paid for that. But it's obviously a demand of a parent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained on us, the child must be brought up well, because ultimately they are to be the Khalifa who will transform the world. And if you don't bring up a well-balanced Khalifa, then imagine what will happen to the world.
Absolutely.
I think that's the point I would like to make here, but I have more to say later.
With this, we'll take a break. Just stay with us, stay tuned. Welcome back. We are discussing successful motherhood and responsible fatherhood as career options. Dr. Zakaria, we have the first 7 years of a child as very critical period. It's understood by all mothers, perhaps all fathers, everybody would agree. This is where the outcome of nurture and nature has to be dealt with to bring about the best of results as far as child's development is concerned. So towards that end, the analysts or psychologists and psychiatrists, they are saying that first 7 years are very critical, and presence of parents and without commands and just interaction and love and care of parents at that particular during that age is crucial. And when the child is deprived of that, children develop later on anxiety and depression. And depression is about worries about their past, the past losses which they didn't achieve and which they wouldn't be able to change because the past is gone. What is gone is gone by. And anxiety is triggered when they start worrying about what will happen in the future, which they may never be able to change either. So this is about, future is perhaps about lack of tawakkul, a lack of reliance on the Creator, lack of reliance on the predestination, lack of reliance on the agency of yourself as a person to change yourself through with your abilities, to change your status with your abilities. And the children require a great deal of love and care, and they are supposed to observe love and care within the family, and then they can imbibe these qualities in themselves. What do you have to say about this?
You rightly said that the first 7 years of a child is a very critical year. In that critical years, by nature, child does not he is not prepared to listen more than to watch and see what is happening around. Meaning, that particular critical years, it is very important to parents to give their full attention by creating a home for the child. Meaning of creating a home is totally a different than building a house, a concrete building. We have seen the golden palaces turn into a bloody massacre in the history, in the annal of history. Just take an example of what had happened in Nepal in 2001, the royal massacre that occurred in that golden palace. So I'm talking about formulating, bringing up a home, a peaceful home. This is exactly what Quran mentioned, the purpose of coming a man and a female women and tying up the knot, getting into the wedlock, is to have tranquility, to have peace. And this tranquility, this peace will breed love, which will be surrounding by the child at the age of 7. So he requires more of the good examples to be seen around rather than having commands, orders, because a child by that tender age could not understand those commands more than he understands and gets the good examples, the bond that he sees between his father and mother, and the availability for them with the child, particularly at that age. Therefore, to function, to make a functional family, just think of a situation where the family is dysfunctional. And why it becomes dysfunctional? This is a million worth of answer.
$1 million question.
$1 million question. While I am talking about the sacredness of family, I personally see that there are a lot of good families in our society, and there are very attentive working mothers who are successfully balancing between their profession and their family.
Work-life balance.
Balancing.
Right.
Of course, Islam puts a huge responsibility on the shoulder of the husband as a breadwinner to be out of the house, to earn for the betterment of the family. But in some cases, if the wife needed to be supportive materially for the betterment of the family, she may go and work, but on condition that the family should not be compromised, but to have a very balanced family. Otherwise, what will happen? When the family becomes dysfunctional due to emotionally detached situation, where father doesn't care about his children, mother is engaged with his or her own career and with very high ambitions, leaving behind children, or assigning to take care of their daily matters with a foreigner, for example. And at the end of the day, you will see the whole family is ruined and emotionally detached, and perhaps if it go to a severe status, they may become abusive and addicted, and even domestic violence will be all over that family. Therefore, now this why it is happening? It is because, unfortunately, most of us, as Dr. Satta just mentioned, focusing on one aspect to be maintained, that is our physical aspects. Although we have many other aspects like intellectual aspects, emotional aspects, and most importantly, our spiritual aspects. I wonder how many of us are giving much weightage, importance on our spiritual aspect to be maintained. Therefore, a successful, well-balanced human cannot be developed unless we are being physically as well as spiritually and emotionally and intellectually proper.
So that holistic development and balanced psychological health or physical health, so all these aspects of health is achieved. These are achieved through the presence and care of father and mother, right? So I think the best asset for the nation is the child, the child, the girl child or the boy child. So the child is the most important asset that we have to develop and take care for the prosperity of the society, for the prosperity of the family, and peace and harmony of the family. So there is you mentioned the spiritual dimension as part of the upbringing, which they have to. They should be instilled spiritual
as
values.
Part of the intelligence.
Intelligence dimension, one of the intelligent dimensions. So lack of spirituality is causing, perhaps, or it may be lack of spirituality, or it may be lack of social intelligence, as you said. Children reach breaking points very often in social relationships when they shouldn't have reached that breaking point in terms of their interactions with their friends in schools and later on in life also. So as they grow up. So children who have such deficiencies of emotional quotient or intelligent quotient have these symptoms all over their life, even at an early stage or even later on in their married life.
Yes,
as you said,
obviously.
when they come together, and that maturity, when the maturity takes the turning point for the better after marriage, of course they are there, but the children suffer when because of the absence of father and mother, and because of the lack of love and care and affection from father and mother. What do you say about the spiritual health, how to nurture spiritually children, how to nurture socially children, how
Yes,
to nurture emotionally children for them to be productive later on?
Well, as Dr. Zakaria mentioned, up to 7 years is really a time that they will accept what you say. And if you show good example, as he said, your commands will not be as effective as your example. If you tell them you should pray, the daddy must pray, the mommy must pray. Otherwise the child will be confused. That confusion will be a problem, a mental problem, a psychological issue. So all this must harmonize. So a child, so these are stages in life. So after 7 years, then preteen is a time when they begin to understand. Then you can talk to them about these things. But before that, just as we were children, for instance, we had Tawlim Dhyana, was the book that we learned our basics from, about prayers and all the rukuns and all that. And that was necessary. You may not even get breakfast if you don't read the book one time in the morning. So, but those are not the ways that mothers and fathers nurture children right now. You don't have that kind of discipline right now. It's a big change with our families now. As I said, I think I was talking to Dr. Zakaria this afternoon also about how our extended families have changed into nuclear families. Now, this is very important for people to realize that in the extended family, you had grandparents living with you. You may even have uncle or an aunt also living with you. So you 6 children in the household, or even more because the uncles may have children also. So it's a huge community in the house. So that nurturing of a community aspect is automatically fulfilled by this context. But now, with nuclear family, mother and father living with one child or 2 children maximum now, they wouldn't want to have more children because they say, how can we look after them? I don't have enough money, I'm not earning enough. But that's another story again we can talk about. But the point is, now with this we are also exposed to the world in a way we were never exposed to, right? You have in a globalized world exposure to foreign influences. We go for education abroad, right? We read books. I don't know whether we read books now, but there's a problem with not reading also right now and focusing on only audiovisuals and films. Extreme influence from films we get. It's not our films, and even our films are following the Bollywood films or the Hollywood films. We're not making our films as educational films. It's only entertainment that we have, if you see our Maldivian films also. And then we just do as everybody does. There's a culture of following everyone because you need to fit in, right? Otherwise you'll be seen as, this man is a strange character, this is. How can... So you are a misfit, as you say. So not to be a misfit, you join in, whether you care to know the consequences or not, you just fit in. And as a result, we have a mass delusion of how we live. What are the things we must have, minimum stuff we must have and all that. And the educational systems also, we have just copied the Western system and taken away all the Islamic values that we used to teach, akhlaq and all these things.
Absolutely.
So those things affect. You have children who are disconnected with the past of Maldives also. If you don't have grandpa with you, who will tell you about the days when we lived? How did we eat those days? How did we travel? Oh, you didn't even have TV at those days? You didn't have mobile phones?
So very
what
little
kind of a
human
life
interactions
did you
now
have?
by children.
So all those. And now they are spending exorbitant time on the phone. 5 hours, 6 hours, which means they don't have time to go and play with their friends, which means it's affecting their social relationships. And you can imagine when that they become misfits of society, or a different type of people, robot-like children, who only feel that they should be served. Now, there's something called entitled kids now. Mother and father does everything for them. They don't even make their beds, right? Or they won't even wash a plate after they finish their meal. Now, that's supposed to be done by the servant in the house. Why should they do it? Yeah. So all that has affected our behavior and the ability to communicate also. Now, I can tell you, this is important for me because I try to educate people. I try to go and talk like this to the schools also. I went in one school, there are other schools also, but this one school I was just amazed. After 1 hour of talking to them and trying to coax them to answer some questions that I asked, you wouldn't believe it, nobody talked. Silence. They wouldn't ask even a question. Now this is abnormal. Why is it happening? If you don't ask questions, you don't learn anything more. Only what you learn in school, what is that? That's minuscule. Unless you read after you ask questions. And that's why Ibrahim says, at 7 years they're asking questions. Papa, eki vehiye, eki vehiye, eki vehiye. And if the parents say, Koko madu innar, don't talk too much. Yeah. If you're silent, then he doesn't. He learns to be. And he said, he will sit there just as I keep the child. So is that good or bad?
this fear of making mistakes or some other factor, maybe
well,
there.
all those things come together. I mean, the
it's
point
anyway,
is
it's a
that
sorry state of affairs in our
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah. Parents-
So
So
we
are
are raising our children in a very authoritative situation whereby
Right.
people, children are being experiencing the fear from our very early childhood stages.
So coming to the very final, since this is the final stage of our show, I would like to put this as a last question. If time allows, we can take about 3 minutes or so. When children are left to fend for themselves at home, perhaps very often glued to screens, TV, and maybe to do their own thing in their own way, and there is hardly any interaction between them and others, and sense of empathy, sense of sympathy, we see lacking in them as they develop. And then they are the expectation is generally for them to become if it is a boy, the gentleman, the civilized gentleman. But the gentleman is suffering from delusions, as Sattar just very well put. Delusion is the gentleman thinks he is civilized when he is having double standards about humanity, when he is having double standards or multiple standards perhaps about human dignity, value for human life, and so many aspects that we would hold dear to our heart as human beings. And we don't regard humanity as a whole, as something sacrosanct. But we have so many so much of ill will to somebody or party or community that we don't like. So what exactly should we do as Muslim parents, as Muslim mothers and fathers, to protect ourselves, our children, our families from this kind of...
This is very obvious.
movements?
We as parents, it lies a huge responsibility on us to take care of our children and prepare them for the future life. As our Prophet very rightly said, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Everyone been assigned with a shepherd, and you are the shepherd of your all your kettles, and you have to take care of that your shepherd. So we are responsible. And even Quran says that إن الله يأمركم إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها. Allah has ordained to fulfill your responsibility and assign that your responsibility to the due of persons. Therefore, we have to think of giving the priority to our family first and foremost. Therefore, we must have a good intention to achieve a very higher purpose of our life while we when we become a father, when we become a mother. It is a very sacred title, and we have to question ourselves: do we fulfill as a father the responsibility of being a father? Do I fulfill the full responsibility of a mother? Therefore, we must have that intention, and as well as we must rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the tawakkul, that as you have mentioned, sometimes we may fall in that trap of anxiety due to not having that a kind of tawakkul or reliance on Allah relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know whether there is a Lord Almighty, there is a Lord Almighty who are taking care of us. We are totally absent on that perspective. And also, we as for working mothers should choose a family-friendly career rather than in order not to sacrifice their family life for achieving high ambitions.
Absolutely. For the thrill of career, we cannot afford to sacrifice the family, the children, and the husband or the wife.
Can I just say 1 minute?
Yeah, parting.
Yeah, I think very important, as Zakaria says, this 7 years is very important. But I think before they get to teenage, you got to create the bond with the family very well, all the children. And bonding comes with regular communication, with time spent, quality time with the children, and making them experience different situations. I don't mean go and see the world, but even in your own country, in your own island, you can show different situations.
I think that's a
And-
very
and
powerful statement. Yeah.
Get them to become aware that life is not only in this house. There is a whole area. There's playground, there's a sea, there is the friends, neighbors, all this. And if you can make them and feel that our lives are all connected, then I think they will have a good teenage.
And provide a space to eat together, exercise together, even pray together, and go outing together, which will have that bond will be stronger and stronger day by day.
Because you must realize at teenage, there's a lot of hormonal change taking place, and they will become a different type of people. They won't like to be with the parents.
So we should have a home where these values are lived by
Exactly.
and respected, and so that they experience this rather than, as you said, as commands to live by. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.